Hey listeners, the official trailer for The Druid's Hand is out now. Filmed summer 2021 in Alvena, Saskatchewan, this horror short has been a labor of love from co-host Mitch Oliver and friend and former guest of the show, Jesse Sawitsky. A big thank you to all the listeners and backers who have made this film reality. You can watch the trailer now on YouTube and stay up to date with all things Druid's Hand on Facebook and Instagram. Now enjoy this Kickstarter episode with our friend Shawn Talley of Paper Street Pictures and the Paper Street Podcast.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Terror Table, a horror movie podcast presented by the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. I'm one of your hosts here every week. My name is Mitch, and with me, as always, I got my pal.
I'm Buzi.
Mitch and Buzi are back in the trap, and we are excited to welcome a first-time guest to the show, where we are going to be discussing both Fright Nights. So we're going to be talking about the Fright Night original from 1985 and the remake from 2011. But here to do that with us, we are so excited to welcome someone that we've admired from afar for quite a while now, ever since we met and became pals with the very talented filmmaker Aaron B. Kuntz. Who, when he was on the show, we talked about his production company, the Paper Street Pictures, which is doing some really amazing things lately. And one of his partners behind, another producer for Paper Street Pictures, is none other than Shawn Talley, who is the host of the Paper Street Podcast, which is a show I've talked about on air. I'm gonna keep rambling until, hey, Shawn, how are you doing?
I am Shawn Talley, ready to do battle with the undead. Yes, excited to be here and happy to be Kyle's replacement. I don't know if Buzi knows that yet, but
yeah,
I'm
here we go.
honored that you asked me to be the new third man.
I love this. I love that I had no idea, and that you will slay the undead if it comes down to it.
Yeah, which is something we're faced with quite often here. No, that's awesome. That was the quickest rebound we've had in a while. Getting like the last
just
time
assert dominance, and that's how
is your third man like the drummer in Spinal Tap? You just continually are replacing, and
that's exactly it. Yeah, he's
actually. I feel like we're like the original. Like me and Mitch are like Hall and Nash. We're like the original NWO, and then we just kind of like come and go.
Every once in a while, there's a Virgil that comes in.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think I love you guys already for making wrestling references. Of course, you're Canadians. Why wouldn't you be wrestling fans? In fact, the only thing I know about Mitch's former home, and I assume Buzi's current home, is that Brock Lesnar flies in and out of there to go to his farm.
Yep.
Yes,
very true.
He loves it.
You guys ever see him in the wild up in town?
Not Brock Lesnar. No.
Every time he is spotted at like a Tim Hortons, it's like a big deal. Like usually Reddit pops off whenever that happens.
Well, to be fair, Saskatoon has what? We got Brock Lesnar coming in once in a while, and then we have Kim Coates.
Kim Coates, but he won't come here. He'll just virtually.
Yeah. He doesn't want to deal with the stench. But yeah, we're so excited to welcome Shawn, which is someone who's a guest on. Like may sound ridiculous here, but I would have been hesitant to reach out to you to see if you'd want to come on, just because I know how busy you are, and you have your own podcast, like mentioned, the Paper Street Podcast, which I'm a huge fan of. But you were a Kickstarter contributor for our short film, The Druid's Hand. So you chose to back us with your wallet and pick up an episode. And I was so excited when I saw that you specifically did this, because you're someone I listen to regularly, and I really admire what you do. And your podcast, in my opinion, is the best filmmaking podcast out there. I think that anyone who has any interest in making films themselves, like the Paper Street Podcast, should be essential, because you bring on so many amazing creative guests from all sides of the industry that so many people don't even know exist. And like ones I want to give a special shout out to is the episode with Alex Cuervo, who did the score for The Pale Door. And I believe he also did a score for Scare Package. But recently, like, I'm developing a project, and me and my roommate, we crank the Pale Door soundtrack while we're writing. It's so fucking good. And it was really interesting hearing him. And yeah, once again, I think my ADD is going to take over and I'm not going to give you any chance to talk. So
No, that won't be a problem. I have plenty to say, especially on the Fright Night movies. But no, I don't know how to take compliments well, so I feel I'm blushing right now. I very much appreciate the kind words for sure. And yeah, Cuervo's great. I said on the show to him, the Pale Door score elevated the film. Like, we think he's fantastic. He's our go-to guy. He is doing the composing for Scare Package 2 as well, so you'll hear more of him down the road.
Yeah, that's, you guys got so much exciting shit happening right now.
Congratulations on that popping off.
Yeah, like I know you listened to that episode, obviously, when we had Aaron in town here, where I think we made Seb sound like he was a demon from another planet. Like, his voice was just so low. We had some major technical difficulties, but it was amazing getting to hang out and meet with Aaron. And I know you listened to that one, but we're huge fans of Scare Package, and you're a producer on that. You're a producer on the sequel, Rad Chad's Revenge, which we cannot wait to see.
Yeah, it's exciting coming this fall, along with a few others. Like, we have Sorry About the Demon coming in the fall, which is from Emily Higgins, who directed Cold Open in part 1. She's got a feature that Paper Street's producing. Old Man from Lucky McKee, who directed The Woman in May. If you guys are horror fans, I'm sure you've at least heard of those two movies. And starring Stephen Lang, who's the big bad in Avatar, if you don't know him by name.
And the blind man in Don't Breathe.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, lots of good stuff coming down the pike here in the fall. Just pandemic certainly delayed a handful of things, and it's like they're all coming out. I think we have like 10 things with our logo on it coming out in just the next year and a half.
That's awesome.
So
yeah, no, you guys are keeping very busy. Like one thing I want to do before we get on to, we're gonna just talk about what movies we've seen recently, if you have any that you want to spotlight or anything. But I want to get to pick your brain a little bit while we have you here, Shawn, if you're cool with that. Pick it. Awesome.
Yeah, scratch it.
Well, I just think for our listeners who are interested in that side of filmmaking, like, you are a film producer, you worked on Camera Obscura with Aaron Kuntz, and the Vice Guide to Bigfoot, the Pale Door, and like Scare Package we've already mentioned. What led you to producing, and what does the day-to-day look like that? Because I know you started off famously as a PA on Rob Zombie's House of 1000 Corpses, and you followed that up with Garfield. The double feature no one thought that they needed in their life. House 1000 Corpses and Garfield.
That we're shot right down the block from each other on Elm Street at Universal's backlot. That's the only connection, really. That was it. Going all the way back, Aaron and I met in junior high on the bus. It took until literally I was getting out of high school and thinking about, like, what the hell are we doing? We love film the most. We want to make movies. And not to retread some stuff Aaron probably said on the show, because I've listened to more than his episode, by the way. That's why I have a lot of questions for you about bringing on ex-girlfriends and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
A lot to unpack there. In fact, I'd rather talk about that than Fright Night, but I don't think Buzi wants to
we'll get there.
Go down your personal history. No, but we finally decided to go to film school. We went to Full Sail in Orlando, which is down the street from UCF. And out of it, we kind of took different paths. Aaron did work on some Universal pictures there in town, like Monster, and I want to say like Too Fast, Too Furious, and some others. And then he kind of segued into the game industry for a bit. I made my way out to LA, and just grinded for a couple of years doing everything I could. I worked for free for months before a grip that I had worked with called me up and like got me a paid gig, and got a gig at Universal's backlot working security for the company Securitas that to this day still runs like the security there. And that was my angle in, because I lived down the road from it and I was able to walk to work and stuff. And the way I ended up as a PA credited for those movies was I was doing security, and I was basically like watching the sets all night and stuff. And that's how I kind of weaseled my way into the
that's credits. That's a big part of being a PA, though. Like, people don't realize that it's actually not super easy to get in. Like, I don't know how it is over there, but in Vancouver you need to have like traffic safety courses and like traffic guiding. Because
I wish we had guidelines for PAs in America like that.
Oh, probably.
We'd had a lot of the lazier folks that didn't do the schooling, but you're making it sound like that's just as problematic, though, that they had to be too qualified.
No, it's just that that is a role on a set, that someone needs to watch the equipment, make sure that it doesn't get stolen, or they direct people away from like that. It seems like such a small role, but it really is something that's important. And people don't realize that that's like the ground floor. That's where you got to start.
I'll say this, 9/11 happened during our tenure in college. It was like a 2-year associate's program. Yeah. And so there was still a good amount of fallout like in the years after that, where the industry, like, I'd fly out to LA or drive out and try to jump into film, and filmmaking was just dead for a solid couple years. I mean, it was hard to find work, and they had really changed their parameters and security parameters around the lots too. And there was also a bit of a homeless issue, so that's why they had security overnight watching sets there, despite how blocked off the walls and such were. There were still vagrants. There was still a security threat overall, with the fallout of 9/11. But yeah, so watching them overnight, that was just the thing. It's funny, I never actually met Rob Zombie on that set, but then I used to see him on the regular Amoeba Records in LA. He'd be there every New Music Tuesday with his very attractive wife, who is as hot as you imagine she is in real life.
Oh, wow. That's fun.
Do you have any good security lot stories for us that you can share?
I'm not kind of dug into that corner of the mental palace for a while, but the one that comes to mind, they shot the Outkast Hey Ya video in one of the sound stages down there. And I do recall that
iconic moment.
Yeah, they called in the ladies who made camera in that video looked somewhat presentable, but I'm pretty sure they made a call to like every porn house in the valley. And I don't want to say, I don't want to broad stroke, but like there were some skankier looking women that made it down to that shoot. I'm walking through the parking garage where they were all parked for that shoot, and they were there all day, and a couple of them had left early, and I did catch two of them standing between two cars, and one was trying to block the other squatting and peeing.
Yes.
For whatever reason, that's the anecdote that came to mind first.
That's awesome. Yeah, street poops are a big thing out here in Vancouver. Yeah. So I know that's something that people need to, PA's got to be watching out for.
Yeah, San Diego to Vancouver, something about the Pacific Coast cities, just the homeless, I think, and the vagrancy is worse than normal in this hemisphere. But definitely. There were coyotes that would come down from the hills at night. You'd have to kind of scare off. That was fun. So I can actually say I've ran off coyotes before.
That's awesome. And it's always great that they tend to go for the lesser paid employees on a film set to chase the coyotes.
My one little brush with fame at the time was they were shooting a few of those like 10 o'clock dramas like Providence and Crossing Jordan. I don't know if any of those ring a bell, but I was standing there. I was in shape. I had a buzz cut. I'm in an all black outfit, Securitas, and I got pulled in to be the cop behind the cop in a scene where they were knocking on the door and asking questions. So I got to stand there and kind of
you were the
write notes. Yeah, I was the other cop that got to write the notes behind them. So that was the one time I called my mom at the time. I was like, hey, in a few months, I'm going to let you know, but I'm on this episode of Crossing Jordan. Like, you can see me playing this day.
I made it. Mom, I made it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So then, like, what led you into, like, producing your own films? Because you guys have been making independent horror films for, is it over a decade now?
Paper Street was founded 10 years ago this month of April, I believe.
Crazy.
And
congratulations.
It's hitting a milestone here. It's one of those things, like, even Aaron and I had lost touch a bit. We were great friends for many years and then just kind of went our own way. And I think we finally got to the point where we all descended into Austin, Texas, and he had started it with a few folks already that he met through gaming, and Cameron, who happened to go to Full Sail as well. He met Alex Uding there, who does all of our post stuff. And long story short, Paper Street was launched. I joined it about a year in, and we'd done a few shorts and such, and then partnered up with a certain producer who helped us. They took a chance on Aaron, Universal did, to make Camera Obscura as a first-time director, and it kind of really set the wheels in motion from there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Done a handful of features now.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It just seems like the Austin, Texas film scene is so incredible just from afar. Like I haven't been there. I'm really, really hoping that I can come out for Fantastic Fest this year. That's like one of my bucket lists. Like I really, really want to be there. But yeah, there's just such a crazy little film scene there, and so many huge voices have come out of that area.
Yeah, it's certainly like the home base of Robert Rodriguez and Richard Linklater. Those are the two bigger ones, but other than that, it's very much a smaller community, but it's a helpful community, unlike LA, where people bend over backwards for you there.
Yeah, no, well, and that's what I was meaning, is like there just seems to be a lot of independent films that you see a lot of the same types of people, or the same group of people constantly working on each other's stuff. And I just I love that mentality, rather than people being like so competitive with each other. It seems like people are actually out there to help.
Yeah, so certainly small enough that even if you don't know someone else that's in the industry, you know someone who does. Like there's only like 2 degrees of Kevin Baconing as far as Austin film goes.
No kidding. That's crazy. So I guess with all that out of the way, like we can just start talking about some horror movies. Like let's hear about your intro to horror. Like, what, I know this is probably a story you've told a lot, or but like, you're obviously a genre fan. Where did that stem from?
Definitely a genre fan. Horror's never been the one thing for me, and I'm not slighting anyone who like that is their thing, and I am a guest on the terror table where you guys are probably horror first. It's funny, my co-host Becky on the Paper Street podcast is certainly like horror and metal, and then like missed 30 years of television, you know. So she's got some blind spots. I've always just kind of been an all-encompassing nerd, you know, a kid of the 80s with a lot of the same reference points as you guys, growing up with it's funny, I had a lot of very religious parents around me. My friends weren't allowed to watch rated R stuff, and Aaron, I think, even told an anecdote about that that involved me on your show. I was the kid who my dad came home with like the VHS of Terminator after it had come out on home video. I was like, here, watch this. Your mom and I saw it. It was really good. Not thinking I'm 6 and it was incredibly violent.
Yeah.
Oh, that kind of started, that started the streak. And then, just like anybody else, weekends at Blockbuster, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and 3 being rented around early 88 and watching those was the first time, like, it scared the shit out of me. It's kind of my intro. But yeah, from like 87 to 91-ish, just all those things that played endlessly on HBO, including the movie we'll talk about shortly, just certainly influenced me. I would say I'm actually sci-fi guy first. I think sci-fi and sci-fi horror is probably my subgenre of horror I love the most, and anything is better.
So Alien or The Thing?
Yeah. Both of them. Yeah. Alien for sure is like a top 10 for me. Planet of the Apes, the original. The thing for sure. People will I know there's some like horror purists that got mad that Stranger Things, the kid had a Thing poster on his wall, because the movie just straight up was not loved or a hit at the time. It certainly came later, and I didn't see The Thing till like 10 years ago. So, and I'm a huge Carpenter fan, but Big Trouble in Little China would be my first, like, my Carpenter was that movie, and I can quote it endlessly. Yeah,
it just gets better every year too, like so many of his films.
I think Nightmare sticks with me the most because it was the first thing that scared the shit out of me. A couple nights later, I still had like a crazy nightmare that's still in my brain, like it's vivid to this day about it. And so yeah, for whatever reason, you know, that reaction, that emotion stuck with me. So horror stayed a pretty steady thing throughout life. But I'm a little too broad with my taste. I love comedy, I love action. Yeah. I love action more than you. We'll talk about that too.
What?
Oh boy,
you're shitting on Die Hard and other things all the time on your show.
Aquaman being the better movie. We solved this. I solved that debate the other night here when we're editing our film with our editor Jason, and I said Aquaman is a masterpiece, so he instantly pulled up Google and said define masterpiece. And then he went to Aquaman masterpiece ? And the first thing that popped up was Aquaman is a cinematic masterpiece. And it's correct. The internet's always right.
Not enjoy Aquaman. I just, I think for influence alone, despite what you think of the Beatles, you can't not say they're the greatest for influence alone. Die Hard was pitched in studios for the next 30 years of, it's Die Hard on a battleship. It's Die Hard like this.
Yes.
So you're entirely right. It's due for that.
Yeah,
Die Hard is due for a space sequel.
True. That is
as bad as 5 was. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they shoot him there next.
That's my grenade that I like to throw into like film, like in groups of film fanatics, is just that Aquaman's better than Die Hard, because you'll never get better reactions in a real debate, whether I truly believe that or not.
I'm one of those people that won't fight on things like that, because I maintain that every movie is somebody's favorite movie. Like,
yep, true.
We have this conversation with Paper Street guys and Becky as well. Like, somebody's favorite movie is Truman Show. It's not the best movie that came out the month of the year it came out, but it might have been the time and place where their dad died that day, or some crazy thing happened, or they got so stoned and watched it and it just hit them the right way.
Totally. Yeah. That's like
your
Buzi
least
and
favorite
Blue
Kevin
Crush
Smith movie. Yeah, your least favorite Kevin Smith movie is some stoner's favorite Kevin Smith movie because he watched it in college 50 times.
Yeah.
Oh, I would like to say that I can proudly be a Blue Crush 2 guy for life.
Yeah.
2? Yeah, but I didn't see 2.
Oh, you have to see 2. It's great.
You don't even need to see the first one.
No, 2 has nothing to do with the first one.
It's the jump.
And never thought about it again.
Yeah, it's the Judgment Day of surfing films.
Okay,
any returning actors in that one?
Sorry?
Did any actors return for part 2?
Oh, no.
No. Those ones. Okay.
They were like, this name is free domain right now. That's what that felt like. Yeah. So being the badass kid of your group, what video games did you grow up playing?
I don't think I was the badass kid of the group, but I was
you had Terminator.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, I guess in that regard, yeah, it was cool because I
Yeah,
had
you were the kid who had like the hookups whose
Yeah.
parents
Yeah.
like didn't care
That's
as
who-
much.
That's
and
who I
guess
was
who came
too.
out better, more well-adjusted? Me or the ones who were repressed and weren't allowed to watch those things?
Yeah, no kidding.
No.
That's something I'm living through.
I'll
right
be
now.
honest. The minute PlayStation and Xbox entered the fray, I stopped being a gamer. As a kid, I had, Nintendo. Super Mario 3 was like revolutionary to my generation.
Yeah.
We played GoldenEye into the wee hours, into dawn sometimes, and Mario Kart Battle Mode as well. But
Yeah.
after that, I fell off completely. So I would never consider myself a gamer. I hope that
That's
doesn't
fair.
offend you,
What about Booger Man? Do you remember Booger Man? Me and my buddy were talking about this the other night. That was a Super Nintendo game.
Do you remember
Or-
Earthworm Jim?
I
Of
certainly
course I
remember
do.
Earthworm Jim. Yeah, I have an
Yeah.
action figure of Earthworm Jim still to this day.
Actually, do you
Oh,
remember
yeah.
that Terminator side scroller for Super Nintendo?
Yep. I have the
That
Judge
it was
Dredd
like the
one.
arcade port.
Yeah, the Judge Dredd one is so bad. Like it's like impossible. Yeah,
that
me
was
and
an
my
era
buddy-
where they partnered every single IP with a video game, no matter how
the 7-Up man.
dash. Like, yeah, they would.
Yeah, Alien
They-
3 has a video game.
Well, they had Pepsi Man. There was a game called Pepsi Man where you play the Pepsi circle. And then the same thing happened with 7-Up. It was just
Man,
wild.
Pepsi used to be so much cooler.
Don't. Pepsi's
It used to be
Pepsi's
like
the
the
best.
radical.
Pepsi's got Brittany. What do you got?
Well, Brittany's got herself finally, so we can all be happy
Yeah.
about that.
Yes, we can be. Yeah.
Good for her.
Awesome. Well, yeah. So you found your way into, like, I guess it's through association that you produce so many horror films. So is there something about the way that horror is being treated in this day and age that is really captivating for you, or how do you feel about generally working in that sandpit there?
I'll say that, I mean, if you wanted to break it down numbers wise, I think horror is always undervalued, and it's the broadest watched genre as far as age, as far as ethnicities, as far as all that stuff. It's not relegated to just one type of misfit or subsect of society. We found ourselves, we're all just fans, of course, but I think we've also found that it's easier to write in that space, to produce in that space, to find a niche there. And yeah, the return on them is usually larger, especially if you kind of play in the sandbox we're playing in, which is the lower budget stuff. So
Yeah, no kidding. Well,
we don't think we'll always make just horror or just horror comedy stuff. We certainly feel like we don't want to be pigeonholed into it, but we've I don't want to say it's a niche we found, but horror comedy has been like the most steady thing I think our brand is related to right now.
Totally. Well, you guys are killer at it, with Scare Package being one of the funniest anthologies in years. I cannot wait for Scare Package 2. But has there been some? Let's get into talking about what we've all seen recently. Like, Shawn, have you seen any horror films that have stood out recently? And keep in mind, you've never been on the show, so you can highlight whatever you want here.
I'm trying to think of the last actual outright horror movie I watched. It was X. That was the first and only one I've seen in a good bit here. And I selfishly had to run see that because I was the one that was going to edit a Paper Street Roundtable we did on YouTube about X that my aforementioned co-host Becky Sayers hosted with a panel of good film critics here from like Bloody Disgusting and all. So awesome. I liked X. I've been a fan of Ty West. I don't know if his execution always meets his ideas, but like I'm rooting for the guy at all times. I want him to make good stuff. And I kind of love that he made a movie that looked exactly not like A24, even though it was promoted as an A24 movie. And the first time I saw the trailer in theaters, I was like, oh, is this a new Texas Chainsaw again? Kind of reboot. And then as it continued on, I was like, oh, this is its own thing. Cool.
Yeah.
So
just
I found myself digging it. Yeah.
Yeah. Some heavy inspiration and roots in Texas Chainsaw. Like there's a couple shots that are pulled right from it. And I fucking loved X. That was such a fun theatrical experience. Buzi, did you have a chance to check it out yet?
I have not gotten out to see that yet.
Damn. Missing out, homie. You got to go to this week.
I know.
Buzi, have you watched anything recently that you want to chat about?
I've just been watching more of Black Summer.
Oh, the zombie show on Netflix?
Yeah. And once again, like I know that I only talked about it a little bit last week, but I'm still invested in the zombie show, and that's saying something. So
yeah. I'm
surprised Walking Dead is still on.
Is it still going?
I think it is.
I have no idea.
It's going, and at least 2 to 3 spinoffs are currently going.
And that blows my mind. That's why I like talking about Black Summer as being refreshing, is there's like all that stuff going on that I have like zero interest watching, but this feels so much like more exciting.
Yeah. Well, the court of popular opinion isn't normally something that's that's always on point. Like Imagine Dragons is selling out stadiums, Buzi, so it shouldn't be.
That really just it hurts.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing I can think of that I watched recently, last night, I just we put on The Wolfman, the original Universal monster film from 1941 with Lon Chaney Jr. and Bela Lugosi. And yeah, we did an episode on that. I think it would have been about a year and a half ago, but I've been really in the mood for these classic horror, like classic black and white horror films. And The Wolfman is just such a fun ride. Like we watched Dracula a couple days before, and it's just so dry compared to The Wolfman. Like the pacing of it is so on point. Like I don't know how it holds up so well, but like the atmosphere in that movie, it's like, especially on Blu-ray and on a really good TV, it's starting like they just feel like every frame is like a painted Disney setting. And I don't know, I love them. And Shawn, are you a fan of the Universal horror movies?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, in our Rapid Fire 15 we do on the podcast, that's usually one of the questions we'll ask anybody that's got like a horror bend to them is what's your favorite Universal monster and monster movie? I'm with you. Dracula, if you showed people who'd never seen them all, I'm certain Dracula would be one of their lesser favorite ones because it just kind of never crescendos. It just keeps that kind of steady. He does a stare and does a stare again. Yeah, it's not one of my top 3 or 4 favorite ones. I love Frankenstein. I love Creature from the Black Lagoon. I do like the Wolfman. I like the Invisible Man.
Yeah, the Invisible Man is one that I think just grows in my esteem every year. Like I like that one more and more every time I watch it, just because fucking the Invisible Man's just such a dickhead in that movie.
Yeah.
It's so fun watching him. And speaking of those Rapid Fire 15s, I hope you know that we have prepared a little terror table rapid fire for you.
Yeah, I don't think you will get any of it.
Yeah. So
it's actually like a quiz or just like asking favorite stuff. If you quiz me, I'll freeze. I'll
no quizzes.
Yeah,
no
do you have a pen and paper? I wanted to throw in that train question.
Which train question?
The one where it's like, well, if 2 trains are going this direction.
Yeah. Oh, like a problem solving.
Yeah, we'll have to get them to actually problem solve all.
Oh, I thought he was going to give me the would you run over those people or would you help them even though you got away with it?
Ooh,
it'll be close to
a moral question.
Yeah.
I will say it didn't dawn on me when you asked me, but Nightmare Alley, it's been a couple months, but I went and saw a theatrical version of the black and white cut of it.
Yeah.
And I did like that. I've noticed a lot of people watching it at home didn't take to it as much as I did, but
the original?
Watching the new Del Toro one, he did a black and white version.
Yeah. Oh, damn. Yeah.
Sorry, I got a helicopter right over my head. I hope you guys don't hear that.
No, I actually can't.
Yeah. Watching that in cinemas, yes, it probably could have been 20 minutes shorter. I hate when people use it as a go-to for a slide on a movie, but
yeah,
in that case, I'm actually agreeing. I think Del Toro probably could have trimmed it a bit, but I dug it. I mean, the production design and all that was top-notch, as Del Toro stuff always is. But
yeah, I actually I threw that on the other night as well because it's on Disney Plus now, and I saw it in the theater and I absolutely loved it. But it's like watching it at home, being able to just really examine the sets and like all the art direction that they put into that thing. It's so beautiful. Plus, you get to see Bradley Cooper get a hand job, which is something I've always wanted to see, I guess.
Yeah, I would say this might be his best acting performance. I've never been the biggest fan of him. It's nothing against him. He just rubs me the wrong way for whatever reason.
I'm the exact same boat. I like him in this film, but
I like him as Rocket Raccoon because he neither looks nor sounds like Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if you've seen Licorice Pizza yet, but
I will say he had a great like 10-minute whirlwind in that movie where he comes in like a coked up tornado. So maybe he's turned the corner. This is his Channing Tatum year where he's like suddenly not shit anymore to me.
Yep. Nope. Totally agree. Awesome. Well, do you guys have any other movies that you want to mention that you've checked out recently before we get on to our main feature, which will be the Fright Night double feature?
That's all I had.
That's all you had. I
saw Batman and Jackass 4 and stuff like that, but they're not exactly horror tinged.
No. You should talk about Batman.
Yeah. I do talk about Batman way too long on Paper Street's next roundtable that's on the YouTube channel now, as you guys will hear this.
Awesome.
But, you can throw that in a link somewhere or a show note. But I liked it. I'm a lifelong Batman fan, and it's not my favorite of his movies or maybe even my favorite take on it overall, but I really dug the idea of it just being kind of like a noir crime tale.
Yeah, no, I love that aspect of it too. Did you watch the Joker scene that was cut?
I've seen it everywhere online and I didn't even want to watch it because my one scene I did not like in the movie because it felt like a post-credit scene was the scene with the Joker. So I didn't even bother with it.
Yeah, they did it. This would have helped that a lot, because it does kind of feel like a post-credit scene in the near the end of the movie. But no, I'm very curious to see the direction they're going to go, because I think that they are setting up to do, a little whack. Like I think they're conditioning us with Colin Farrell being so heavily like done up in the makeup to know that we're going to start getting like, I want kind of a campier Poison Ivy. I want Killer Croc in a
that'd be great,
Batman
actually.
movie. And I think they're setting it up with that, with the end of the film. I have my reasons why I think.
Do you feel
Croc's
like
coming in next.
Since you've seen it, you've been more like moody and depressed, maybe looking out windows longer?
Yes, and my Nirvana intake has definitely skyrocketed. But I loved it. I really, really, really dig that movie. Cool. What you mentioned? You saw Nightmare Alley, Batman.
I think the only other thing I mentioned was Jackass 4.
Right. Okay. So I was watching this with my roommate and his friend last night, and they made me turn it off. So I want to hear your thoughts on it.
I somehow have seen all 4 of them opening weekend in the theater, and that was never the plan. But sometimes it's what you need, especially in a pandemic. Seeing, I didn't know I needed that much penis and balls, but
like the amount of dick shit in that movie, and like the amount of times it's just people getting hit in the balls. I
feel like that for them was like the safer bet. They're like, I don't want to get shot out of a cannon. Just
they do that
kick
too.
Me in the dick.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of dick kicking in it, but and a lot of
there's no way to review those movies. You know what you're getting when you go to see Jackass. But
totally.
I will say, I think the night vision bit was probably the standout.
That was my favorite. Yeah, Silence of the Lambs. That was so good. I love that. Awesome. Well, do you guys want to get on to talking about our main feature? We'll be talking about both Fright Night films.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
What would you do if you accidentally discovered the house next door was occupied by something not human? Something horrifying. Something unspeakably evil. No one believes you.
Mom, I didn't have a nightmare.
Not your mom.
They did kill a girl over there.
Not your girlfriend.
Charlie, is this some sort of a trick to get me back?
Not even the police.
Look, I know it's crazy. I know that, but look, Lieutenant!
It knows that you know. You'll do anything to protect yourself, but it will do anything to protect its secret. Fright Night. If you love being scared, this could be the night of your life. Fright Night. Coming to your neighborhood this summer.
And welcome to our main feature presentation, where today we're going to be discussing 2 of Shawn Talley's picks, which is Fright Night from 1985 and Fright Night from 2011, the 3D remake. So this, just right off the top, I've talked about Fright Night so many times in the 5 years of terror that we've had. This is one that I obviously thought we were going to cover. It's
surprising
shocking.
We haven't done this like way sooner.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. There's a couple of those heavy hitters that like we still have never done the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I feel like there's those certain ones, and I think it's because we started with The Thing so early that we're like, we got to wait till we.
Well, and we did all of the whole Alien series.
Yeah, and Jaws. Like, you want to wait for the time where you feel like you're going to be able to do these films justice, and what we've realized is no, we will always just be dumb fucks talking about horror
but
movies.
Also I feel like tons of other people have had better conversations about it, so I think for us a lot of times it was fun to just talk about other stuff too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Shawn, what was it about Fright Night that made you choose these films?
So when you told me that was kind of the gimmick of, bring a movie in to talk about, I looked through your archive to see if that was the one, but the truth is I had 5 in mind when this all came about. And 5 movies that are part of my DNA, they being the aforementioned original Terminator, Big Trouble in Little China, but also Beetlejuice, The Burbs, and Fright Night. So it was like thinking about those 5, and all of them flirt with horror in one way or another, or some are considered horror adjacent, but like Fright Night is also humorous, but it's certainly the one you probably call horror first and foremost, and this is the terror table after all. So I just threw that to you first. And when I asked Mitch Buzi if he would be interested in discussing it, I'm pretty sure he asked if we could fuck.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much exactly what happened. And you just naming off those 5, like, I'm like, oh man, those are all mine too. Like a couple of them at least for sure. I love all those ones that you mentioned. But and I actually don't even know, Boozy, in the amount of times we've talked about horror, like I have no idea if you've even seen the original Fright Night. Have you? Or had you before this?
I have, but it was once again like on the Scream Network kind of thing where I just remembered bits and pieces. Like I remembered some of the end, but watching it again, it felt fresh, like having, I don't remember seeing all of it. So
am I like, because I might just have COVID brain where I'm forgetting certain events that happened in real life. Like, did we show this? That I feel like we at least had a plan to show Fright Night through.
I think we did, but we never ended up showing it.
I think that's right. When that was right when COVID hit, we had planned to screen Fright Night, and then everything shut down. So this is one I'm still waiting to see on the big screen. Mm-hmm. This is a staple for myself as well, and I think it goes back, like for me personally, the cover art. This was one of the ones that stood out the most in the video store, and as a little curious teenager, or much younger than teenager, be walking through the horror aisles looking for all the ones that would stand out, and Fright Night was one of I think it's the first one that's grilled into my brain as like when I think of horror movies in video stores, that's what stands out. And same with The Gate 2. The poster for The Gate 2 is, those ones really stand out. But I had no idea what I was getting into when I originally saw it. And this is a movie I've seen, without exaggerating, it's got to be around 15 times. And it's a comfort movie. I recently, when moving to this new city, my friend who owns a club here, he has like a big projector screen and an amazing sound system. And he doesn't watch horror movies, and neither does his girlfriend or any of his friends. So they're like, let's have a movie night, and I want you to show us something that's actually going to scare us, something that's going to, really fuck us up. So I went with The Loved Ones, the Australian horror movie.
Right.
And they hated that. They were like, that's not even scary, that's just disturbing. But it was so funny watching them squirm. And they really, really did not have fun watching that. I had a blast watching them watch it. But I felt like I needed to lighten the mood up with the second one. So I was like, you know what? Fright Night is a bulletproof choice. Like, you can show this to anyone. I find it so hard to believe that you could show this to someone and they could say they hate it. I think that there's moments that they could hate. Evil Ed, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but that's all a part of its charm for me. And this was the best rewatching it on that big screen with those people and seeing how well it holds up and how it's still so funny. And it's such a great representation of the vampire subgenre and all of the best tropes that come from it. Like, the sexuality of the whole comment on puberty, which this movie plays with. Once again, I'm going to just start drooling here. So I'm going to let one of you guys take over. What is it about Fright Night that clicks with you, Shawn?
So, staple of HBO during my youth, as we've said, I've rewatched it more than a lot of movies. It's probably a top 10 most seen, and I'm almost certain it's the most seen of any horror film, if nothing else. But yeah, I mean, scary movie, obsessed teenager who fears his neighbor may be an actual vampire. So it's not the very first I watched. I told you Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and 3 is what really, I think, kicked it off. But I must have seen this just weeks after, like, that same year for sure, because I agree with you. Like, it's a good gateway. It's not particularly frightening, but it's, I credit it for certainly kickstarting my love of the genre, and maybe horror comedy stems from it, and we'll talk about the slick remake it got in 2011, which I do enjoy. It played with tones, balance between the tones, and also to that point that you said earlier, it's my earliest memory of a film being meta and self-aware. And like, he's talking about vampire tropes, and like by the end of the decade, that was its own trope, like Monster Squad and Wes Craven's New Nightmare into Scream. That became a trope, that everything's self-aware, because you always get weird, like Walking Dead, like there's no zombies in your world, like you don't know what that thing is. But Fright Night's one of the early examples, I think, of them saying, oh no, here are rules and here are things we should do. And some of them work, some of them don't. But like, I love that both versions play with the rules of vampire stuff.
Yeah, I love that too, and especially with the character of Peter Vincent. Like that's something that growing up, I obviously had no idea. Like I hadn't watched a Vincent Price movie until much later after this, and so seeing that the inspiration that they pulled, or Tom Holland pulled, which was one of my favorite parts of this screening, is when it said that the film was written and directed by Tom Holland at the beginning. My friend yelled out, "Tom Holland, he's tiny."
Not that Tom Holland.
He's talking about Spider-Man. So,
is he tiny?
Yeah, well, like Spider-Man, yeah, he's a small
Spider-Man
guy.
actor's pretty short, I think.
Yeah.
Can I tell a quick story to your point about the creature feature stuff?
Yes, please.
So, growing up in Tampa, Florida, our local area, we had a creature feature host, and I was none the wiser that we were not special, that other U.S. cities like St. Louis and Detroit had their own versions of creature features with Macabre, hosting. Some are still around, like Spinguli. But if you guys don't know what we're talking about, think like the Tales from the Crypt Keeper, or even Joe Bob Briggs. They're in that same vein. They're kind of introing and outroing a film. They're doing interstitial bits in between.
Elvira.
Dr. Paul Bearer, had like bad puns. I got to go call my mummy. Stupid shit like that.
Or John Carpenter and Body Bags.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that already like was a cool in for me watching that, because I was already familiar with Dr. Paul Bearer. So. Yeah, back when we were, 4 nationwide broadcast networks, this actually predates Fox becoming number 4 in the U.S. But we had local like UHF channels. I don't know how you Canucks deal with TV and signals, but we had like the
UHF
channels.
Means Weird Al Yankovic to us.
Exactly. But yeah, Tampa had a couple really cool channels called like V32, where I first discovered Jerry O'Connell's superhero Canadian TV series, My Secret Identity.
Yes.
I hope you guys know what that is.
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Yeah. We also had WTOG channel 44, which I think later became UPN and CW and such. But back in the day, it was just like an independent channel. And yeah, the creature feature on Saturday was Dr. Paul Bearer, had a 2-hour block. And it was followed by Lynn Austin, who was the famous Hooters girl, because Hooters is from Tampa. She hosted like a comedy.
Shout out Hooters.
Watching a lot of R-rated comedy stuff on broadcast TV too that was edited. But yeah, he was the fucking best. Bad jokes, bad puns, all of it. So seeing that Peter Vincent was in a similar vein, and then later you realize his name's kind of like an homage to Peter Cushing and Vincent Price even.
Yeah.
But that Roddy McDowall, who might be most widely known for being Cornelius in a handful of the old Planet of the Apes movies. Side tangent. It's funny. I discovered the Planet of the Apes movies in a marathon on USA Network. They used to have a thing called Up All Night, which is another thing that's in that creature feature vein, where Gilbert Gottfried and different hosts throughout the years would come in and out of the films. But
Gilbert Gottfried's got to become a horror host at this point. That would be amazing. I would just love to see him narrate movies. Yeah. Like do the Mystery Science Theater thing.
Exactly. I was gonna say like he could ruin like it would be his version of Werner Herzog stuff, talking about like nature.
Oh my god.
Sorry, I only tangent into that because thinking in hindsight, Roddy McDowall was in a very well-seen horror movie of my youth, and then also a well-seen comedy in Overboard. I've seen that movie way too many freaking times, and also in Planet of the Apes. Like, so he covered all the genres: sci-fi, the comedy, and the horror. But
no, he's such a treat in this movie, and we'll obviously get to talking about the remake, which also I am a fan of as well, and how they kind of update that character trope with like a new Chris Angel or something like that. That's how that was just genius to me. But no, yeah, I love all those elements about it, and I'm curious now, Buzi, what are your Fright Night thoughts? Are you going to be the dark horse on this one again?
No, I really enjoyed Fright. Well, you think I was going to slander it?
Well, I have no idea. You're so hard to gauge sometimes, that's what makes the show fun.
It was super cool. I really liked it. Also, having just with vampire lore in general, thinking about like some of the stuff that Stephen King has written in terms of vampire lore, and then watching this and how kind of you can draw certain rules through all of these. And I just really like that they, like you guys had mentioned, that they did address a lot of stuff. And I like that there was more to it than just a classic vampire with fangs. It became so much more. And I think that's probably also one of the best parts of it, is a lot of it's just a surprise to see more and more of this stuff happening. I will say though, they maybe it's just because I'm so removed from the time, but I feel like they could have got somebody sexier to do like I'm a sexy vampire.
No, I was just about to say
this
Chris
reminds
Sarandon.
me of like Halloween 3, where it's just like, why is everybody like
Whoa,
all over
that's
this?
Tom Atkins.
Yeah,
I know
man.
times change, Boozy, but if you asked women who were like 45 and above, they were into Chris Sarandon.
Chris
for a while.
Sarandon.
okay,
there.
45
Now-
and above. That's fair.
No, but I'm
He's,
saying
like,
of the time,
courting
of that
an
time,
18-year-old.
he was a hot commodity of that
Yeah.
time. Now, granted, I think a couple years later, he played such a weasel in Princess Bride, and I think that like almost clouds
That's
people's
what he's
opinion of
from.
him.
Okay.
Yeah, he's Prince Humperdinck in Princess Bride. So a lot of people can't see him as anything else because he played it a little too well. But
Right.
prior to that, yeah, he was considered. I disagree on that one. I think
I'm
do
thinking
too.
about
He
where
was-
he's like laying down by the fireplace and he walks over with his,
Man,
his.
Are you fucking kidding me? Think about The Fly and Jeff Goldblum just deciding he's a sex symbol in that, and compare him to Chris Sarandon. You can't tell me which one is hotter. This is basic terror table stuff too, where we're going to debate, have a bunch of straight dudes debating which guy's hotter.
Are you kidding?
But oh man, he's way hotter than Goldblum.
No, okay, Goldblum has the fucking energy to just tell you he's a sex symbol. He doesn't need to show
Chris
you,
doesn't
but
need
he
to do
does.
shit. All he's got to do is like suck on an apple real nice and slow, and it's just like, oh damn. And especially with that music.
Thank you for reminding me. That apple looked like shit. It looked like a tire that had blown out, and he just threw it.
God. This whole conversation though, it did remind me of something that we were just talking about yesterday. My roommate and I were watching Thief, like Michael Mann's Thief, and James Caan being like the main character in that. Like that's something that we don't see anymore. Like we don't see, and this to me, I can't compare. Chris Sarandon is inhumanly attractive, but like James Caan, and I know that his character doesn't need to be attractive, but you never see those like normal looking dudes anymore in films, like as lead characters. And
there's a part in the mid 2000s where they just kind of like they couldn't afford budgets for certain kind of hot guys. So yeah, it was just kind of those mid dudes, and I feel like we lost all of them.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Like, well, now it's just all like the really glossy, super. Okay, sorry, we're getting really onto hot dudes here. Sean, what's your take? James Caan, hot or not?
No, in fact, rewatched Thief a few months ago, and it was like the same week I watched was it Modern Romance or one of the Albert Brooks movies, and I thought, my God, the 80s were wild because guys who had no business being shirtless were shirtless, and you could see their curly chest hair connect over their shoulder to their curly back hair like a woolly tank top. And I was like, God, we are far removed from that. The CW actors now permeate all things, and you can't you can't not fit the mold of just like really pretty.
James Caan is like his hair's thinning in the front, and he's like a shorter guy, and he's just like, he's not supposed to be super sexy in Thief or anything, but it's just like I miss those. Like now you look at, obviously that movie is stated as like the biggest influence on Winding Refn making Drive, and they are so similar. Like it's really interesting watching both those back to back. But long story short, Chris Sarandon is a hottie. Go fuck yourself. Chris Sarandon is a babe. And
I'm just saying, him trying to woo like 18-year-olds as this dude with his hair, like
you're such a millennial, Buzi.
Something about, speaking of the sexuality of this movie, like there's a few things that the sequel we'll get into later maybe didn't do, but like Billy Cole wasn't even a character in the second one as played by Jonathan Stark. Dude just looks like an actor who would have been in Paul Verhoeven movies. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but he just looks like a Paul Verhoeven movie actor. It could be because he resembles somebody who is in a bunch of his movies. But Tom Holland, I mean, he wrote and directed this, but it's hard to argue that his biggest contribution to film and horror is obviously he also wrote and directed Child's Play, which is still an active franchise and current TV series. I will say I've seen part 2. I own part 2. I've not watched it maybe 20 years, so I probably should try to revisit that before we got into this. But it is weird that it's weird that it didn't become a big franchise in the same vein. Like two kind of bombed out and it fell apart. We'll get to a crazy note about what almost happened with part 3 at the end of this before we jump into the 2011 one. But yeah, there's a couple notes I made, like the score, the soundtrack is like wonderfully of its mid 80s moment, Devo, Jay Giles Band, Ian Hunter, even Sparks, who, if you've not seen Edgar Wright's documentary from last year on the band Sparks, I do recommend that.
Yeah,
but
great.
Yeah, the score was Brad Fiedel, who a year prior made the very iconic Terminator march. And it's funny, there's a cue, the whole sequence when he's hunting Evil Ed in the alleyways. I legitimately my whole life have thought like that was draft one of the Law and Order theme. On Order, when the rest of it's very synth heavy and very mid 80s, but like that one bit just feels like strangely out of place. But no, I am curious. So he as Buzi's just sitting like a recent kind of, it's fresher in his mind. Is there anything you thought it did better or worse? Did you also revisit the 2011 one before?
Actually, the 2011 one, that's the first time I had seen it.
Okay.
Was just watching it for this. Sorry, what was your other question?
What'd you notice differently, or like did you notice anything let's stick on the original for a second, but like watching it through fresh eyes in 2022, like what are some things that you took away from it?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. I think what I like, I don't want to do that comparison thing, but I think some of the better moments of it, even though I said he wasn't as classically attractive, is I find that the sexuality in this movie is so much, it's way better put out through this entire thing to actually make it feel like this feels more like a vampire than I feel like Colin Farrell ever really is. And that's not a slight against it. It feels more like a natural progression of this. And I like that we've talked about Terminator a couple of times, because especially when they go to like the dance and everything, does feel very like Terminator-ish, down to like even having stuff go off and having everybody like run a scatter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like he won't kill us in this giant crowded room, and then it's
it still feels very Terminator, the same way
Terminator does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I really like the standoff at the end and how that all builds and everything. And I also will say that I prefer this version of Evil. I feel that I think
I do
that
too.
That is a scalding take.
Yeah.
I think that he's very of his time in terms of being that side character. You don't like,
oh, he's so heightened. I feel like in this, like he's so over the top, and like if there's one like it's grating hearing his voice.
I think the part I like about like his voice is annoying. I think the part I like about this version of it is you get to spend more time with those characters developing. Like I feel like their friendship was a lot more organic, when you watch 2011, Evil dies pretty quick and you're kind of left with pictures and then watching like videos being like, we used to, it's like that Wolverine picture, that meme where he's just touching the
the new one. You meet them and they're already on the outs as a relationship.
Like so they just reminisce most of that movie about their friendship.
And it opens up another question of or like a theme in childhood, like in our youths, where there are so many people that you were probably friends with that you had nothing in common with, or that you wouldn't be friends with if you had other options.
Just because of proximity. And
then it's like I have a couple friends where it like went from when I was a child. I'm just like, I cannot imagine us sitting in a room together now, like but you're just kind of friends with who's around you. But Evil's just so over the top and so abrasive throughout the film. And I definitely agree that I like that you get to see him really in pain in the original Fright Night, and that whole transition is something that's kind of lacking in the sequel.
It makes it more impactful that he's turns into this evil henchman after the fact.
There's some line reads that are just cringy. I agree, they always have been. But he's fleshed out a bit more despite that in the original.
And I definitely do appreciate, I didn't check out to see who did the practical effects for this, but there is some fantastic stuff in this. And I like always appreciate stuff like this, especially the fact that they don't shy away from showing you. There's quite a bit of stuff with like faces and mouths, especially that stuff's always enjoyable.
I even really like Ed's wolf moment, he's sort of de-transforming. I think it's really good
when he's crawling around on the floor there.
No, the makeup effects are fucking unreal in this movie. I love them. And like that's one thing, because it's obviously something you see on the poster is what's her name again, the girlfriend,
Amanda Bierce is their character.
Amy.
Thank you, Amy.
She like seeing her mouth, like when she has the giant mouth at the end, it's just something, it's iconic. And what I love too, though, and this is something that some of my favorite horror comedies do, is yes, it's funny and it's kind of charming throughout it, but like that final act it's brutal. Like it's really like strong horror filmmaking, and I love watching how dark it gets and how like
it's super
gross
mean
and mucky.
spirited the further it goes for a film that does have quite a bit of comedy in it.
Yeah. Cool. Do you guys what are some stuff you want to talk about when discussing Fright Night, this original?
Looked up a few things about it before this. Tom Holland wanted Charlie Sheen, but immediately thought he was too handsome for the role. Nothing against William Ragsdale, but he didn't think Charlie Sheen would come off as
what a nice way to get put down. Like, so you can't do this. You're far too pretty, right? Attractive.
That's going to be my go-to.
Yeah, he did consider Vincent Price for sure to play the Peter Vincent character, but I guess he was in too poor health at the time. And couldn't do so. But I guess that later on saw it and gave his blessing and thought Roddy McDowall was great. And then I read something that the original ending was going to see in a similar vein. They're making out on the bed and you hear Peter Vincent back hosting the show. And he was actually going to become a vampire on live TV and do like a kind of smash cut to that. And that would have been
kind of like the
something.
Howling.
Although that would have blown the sequel idea, obviously, of them becoming vampire hunters, but it would have been something.
I was actually going to ask, since you just segued to it, what is this? If I had more time, I was going to actually watch 2, because that came out only like 2 years after or something.
Yeah, I think it was 87 or 88.
Yeah, I think it was like 88, like shortly after. Could you guys tell me like what is it? So
I have never seen
Vampire Hunters.
I've avoided it. Sean, do you have any insight on Friday Night?
Yeah, so Roddy McDowall and Williams Ragdale do return. He's not dating Amy any longer. And essentially they become like professional at it. Like Roddy McDowall's character just leans into it. He's like, yeah, well, let's go do this. Let's kill some more.
So it's kind of like a buddy cop movie.
Sort of. Again, it's been 20 years, but I do remember they fight like a whole harem of like lady vampires in that one.
This might be worth checking out, honestly.
Yeah, I need to watch it. Oh, that was my last note too about the weird connection to like part 3 is that 2 bombed. There was a plan for 3. Roddy McDowall said, I'll do it. I want to be a co-producer and I want to bring back Tom Holland. And unfortunately, the rights had gone to another producer named Jose Menendez. And like a week or 2 before they were all set to meet up and discuss part 3, Jose Menendez and his wife were murdered by their sons. And if that sounds familiar,
the Menendez
brothers case. Yes,
Holy
Jose Menendez
shit.
had the rights to Fright Night. And I do believe Tom Holland has them reverting back to him like this year or next year or something. But like the whole Menendez case has a weird connection to this movie because they wanted to make part 3 and that man had the rights.
That is wild. Yeah, that's wild. And it also has a connection to like, I know this is just something that I read on the IMDb trivia, but Tom Holland credits that he was able to get away with a lot of things making this film because the studio was so preoccupied by focusing on the film Perfect from 1985. Have either of you seen Perfect?
I don't know that I have.
I've never even heard of it.
Okay, this movie is with John Travolta and Jamie Lee Curtis. And this is something
I do know that movie. Yes.
Yeah, the workout scene. There's like a 25 minute, half an hour workout scene in like a yoga class with John Travolta and Jamie Lee Curtis, just like air humping.
Oh, who made a music video spoofing that?
I don't know who that is, but I know that when Jesse and I were writing The Druid's Hand, we watched that scene like frequently. It's just the weirdest energy in that film. And I love how
somebody made like a 5-minute music video of just that as they're inspired by watching it.
Yeah, that movie is like horrendously terrible. So it's so funny that like, sneaking in the back door, we have Tom Holland making Fright Night, which would go on to be, in my opinion, it's absolutely an 80s horror classic. In a decade that has some of the greatest horror films that we have in general. I think Fright Night ranks up there with the best. So I love being able
to having that like 10 out of 10 cover art, like you were saying, Mitch.
Yeah.
Like even before I'd seen Fright Night, I knew what it was just based on that cover art because it almost does feel like Goosebumps-ish in a way. I know it predates it, but just to kind of have that like that trajectory of kind of how we were growing up seeing that stuff.
Yeah, it catches your attention, that's for sure. And it looks genuinely creepy. And the film, it is genuinely creepy in a few moments, but above all else, I just think it's a super fun, enjoyable movie. Do you guys do you want to transition into Fright Night from 2011?
Hey, Mom. Hey, just checking in. What you up to? Adam Johnson. Adam.
You know Adam's missing, right?
Right, kids aren't coming to school. It happens all the time.
I don't know if you were paying attention to roll call, but he's not the only one that's gone.
You're nuts.
This is my son, Charlie, and his girlfriend.
Hi. So Jerry is our new neighbor.
Hey. Hey.
Now listen to me. We graphed up all the disappearances. That's you right there in the center next to his house. I really hate to be the one to tell you this, but that guy, your neighbor?
Jerry.
Yeah, he's a vampire.
That is a terrible vampire name. Jerry?
Watching me. I've been watching you. Your mom, there's a kind of neglect, gives off a scent. And your girl, she's ripe. It's on you to look out for them, because there are a lot of bad people out there, Charlie.
What's that?
I'm gonna end him or he's gonna end me. That's how it's gonna be.
Yeah, this movie, man. Okay, so Fright Night was a huge deal for me, like as a kid and teenager and early adult. So I was of the mindset of all the jaded teenagers out there when they were remaking Fright Night, and I was mad about it, didn't know why. Didn't have like real, well, I guess I had real reasons. Like the movie's a classic, but I thought that the trailer just looked horrible. I thought, like Colin Farrell, I was just like, what are they doing to my boy? They're massacring my boy. And I was very upset about it. And then I ended up, so this is, I'm the kid who would go to every single movie on opening night. I like tried to not see Fright Night out of defiance because I was a stupid, jaded teenager. And finally went and saw it at our like local cheaper theater. Shout out Rainbow Cinemas, rest in peace. And man, I loved it. Like I still like, I think this movie has so much to offer, and it's really faithful in a lot of ways. I think it's just a lot of fun. I was a little turned off by the whole 3D aspect because, once again, jaded teenager, but it all worked for the most part. Like there's definitely way more flaws in this than for the original. Obviously, still far prefer the original, but this one's fun. And it's got a stacked cast. We got Anton Yelchin, which is like
R.I.P.
Oh God, man, like it's so hard watching him. He's so fucking good in everything he was in. And like I'm a huge fan of Alpha Dog, which is a movie that a lot of people don't really care for, but like that's the movie that really put him on my radar. And if you know,
he's still good though, and even the movies of his you don't care for, like
like
great.
Even that movie, I ended up actually liking it from what I remember, but Odd Thomas was like a lower budget film and he's so likable in the movie. Like he's just got the characteristics of someone you're just always rooting for. Like it would be tough to imagine him as a bad guy. But I think he could pull it off because he was an incredible actor. But that was so sad when he passed. But Imogen Poots has become one of my favorite actors as well, and she's great in this film. Colin Farrell is someone I've just only warmed up to throughout the years. Like I like him more and more, and I think he's great in this role. Toni Collette's obviously, you know, an absolute masterclass actor. And I really love David Tennant playing Chris Angel in this movie because he's just a douche. Like he's got a little bit Russell Brand, a little bit Chris Angel, and both those people suck. So it's fun watching them interact with these chaotic teenagers in Las Vegas. What are your thoughts, Sean?
I want to hear, does Colin Farrell pass the Buzi test?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Colin Farrell is, I will have to say, he is, even if I was thinking about like casting my own Fright Night, I feel like he is a perfect vampire. He's got the like 40-yard stare into your soul. He's
Colin
like
Farrell over Chris Sarandon. You heard it here first, folks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad Mitch has come around on him. I've been a fan of Farrell for a while. I think he's always been solid. He's not, he doesn't seem like he phones it in. He's,
I think, that, keep in mind, when I didn't like Colin Farrell, I was a jealous teenager, and all the girls that I would be dating at the time were all into Colin Farrell. So I inherently hated him. And now I'm like, you know what? Y'all are right. This dude's a stud.
Thinking back on that, what a strange thing for like high school boys to be like. It's not like Colin Farrell would come and steal your 16-year-old girlfriend, but we were very worried about
when
that.
you have the insecurities that I had.
Like I was worried about like Bam Margera coming and stealing my girlfriend.
Oh God. Yeah. Can you imagine?
And now I'd be worried about him stealing half of a sandwich I was eating.
Jesus Christ. Okay. So who are we going to talk to here first? Now we figured out that Buzi is loves the raw sexual energy of Colin Farrell. Shawn or Buzi, who wants to share your thoughts?
Shawn, I want to hear about how you feel about this movie going back now that you've rewatched it for the first time in a while.
I was a bit like Mitch. I thought they were on par for the last few years, and I did see a few more flaws watching it this week.
Were you excited watching it? Sorry, when it first came out, did you go?
I wasn't as jaded, but I'm with Mitch in that like the trailer didn't do a ton to spark. However, that cast was like enough to maybe put it over because, that top 6 or 7 build people. I mean, really, and Imogen Poots reteamed with him again for a Green Room, which is a movie I imagine you guys love. And if you don't, you should go watch it right now.
Yes.
But yeah, Anton, I'm not gonna lie, Anton was one of the biggest bummers to me of any celebrity death in our lifetimes. Like he had so much ahead of him. He was just making interesting career choices, and like the very much like DiCaprio and Elijah Wood just never did the obvious young adult rom-coms and dramas. Like he was another guy that was making like a lot of interesting choices.
Whole body is covered in chills right now just thinking about it. Because
also because it was such a weird like freak accident death, and I think that makes it even more frustrating. But my wife and I were reading Scott Pilgrim, the books in the lead up to the movie, and it was before we heard Michael Cera was cast, and we got in our brains Anton Yelchin was the lead, and for whatever reason it like took a while to get used to Michael Cera, who's polar opposite type of energy. But
this isn't made anything like in my thoughts.
Yeah, but no,
1 out of 10.
I enjoy the remake still. I've never actually gone about ranking like horror remakes, but you always think of like The Thing and The Fly and The Blob and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I don't know. This might squeeze in like a top 10, maybe, if I thought about it. But I like that it's not a carbon copy. The structure of the screenplay is very different. Like we said, the way Ed and him have an interaction, the way David Tennant's character comes in and out of it a lot differently than the McDowell's version. A lot of the updating worked for me. The Vegas setting, where a lot of the population actually does work at night.
That was a smart setting choice. I like that. Yeah.
Smartest since Leprechaun 3.
Yeah, and I have a soft spot for obviously the creature feature aspect of Roddy's version, but Tenet being that Vegas act with the big dark magic show is also pretty great and very relatable.
So corny.
Yeah. Trying to think. Christopher Mintz-Plasse, even it's hard to shake McLovin, but I think he's a better, obviously, as a performance than Evil Ed in the original. But I do agree that the Evil Ed in the first one at least has more.
You have more to latch onto, or
he makes a mark. It makes a mark on you, leaves a mark. But he does have some pretty funny moments in this, like particularly whenever he's interacting with Dave Franco, who plays such a pitch perfect high school douchebag. Yeah, like that is perfect casting for him. And it's like it's unbelievable that like I really like Dave Franco now, and seeing him in enough roles, you see more range from him. But when I saw this, I was like, I can't imagine he could ever do anything other than an insufferable dickhead.
Yeah. And he's played that incredibly well a few times, like in 21 Jump Street.
He is the perfect high school bully.
Yeah. This one also has a Lisa Loeb sighting. You can never go wrong with that.
Yes. Shout out. What was that movie that After Midnight? I love that ended with the Lisa Loeb song. It was so good.
One wrinkle I'm not sure why they never included in the first one was that in this one they straight allude that Peter Vincent knew vampires were real deep down and that he had a past with them. And there's even a reveal when Colin Farrell goes, I recognize you, like, and they tie that in even more, like, oh, he's the actual vampire that killed his parents. But it was always strange to me that Roddy McDowell didn't have that little wrinkle in the old one. Like there's a reason why he does what he does and does this as a profession, because he knows all the ins and outs. That was another kind of smart update, that he had all the old school weaponry and stuff like that, because he's been kind of chasing it his whole life in a weird way, subconsciously or not.
I never thought about it that much, but you're right. I kind of that's a cheap answer to say, but I do enjoy that they explored both versions of that, because having the first version being a little bit more like a kind of a bumblebutt basically the whole time.
Are you talking about Renfield?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like the Renfield like character.
Yeah, that he like doesn't know a ton about vampire, just is very scared the whole time and kind of running, versus having somebody who knew what they were doing, like Chris Angel.
Yeah.
Tennant's a bit of a chicken shit too until like the point where he's not. But yeah, McDowell, like all the way at the end of the first one, is kind of like just bumbling.
Yeah, totally.
He doesn't become cool till the sequel, like where he's into it.
Totally. And but where Tennant's version does it differently too is like it's a little more interesting watching him just be like he's such a dickhead, and like he's so full of himself and everything, and watching all of that crumble under the weight of real actual horror coming his way. I really like that element of it. Obviously the 3D elements were things that, you know, I hated as when I was younger, and I certainly don't think it does it any favors now even, but it's just I think that was the thing that left such a sour taste in my mouth when I first heard that they were doing this, because I thought that they were going to treat it like, you know, as much as I do actually kind of like that My Bloody Valentine 3D now, they just treated them with such a level of disrespect, and it was like the 3D overtook everything else. Like the story was secondary, and I feel like they juggled it really well in this one. Like they threw in those flourishes to get the audience excited, who's gonna, you know, get one of Colin Farrell's hands through the screen. And just watching it now, I think it still works, but it's the glossiness of the VFX near the end. It's just, you can't compare it to the original. Like there's no comparison. The difference that it makes when the actual blood and the carnage is just physically there.
Thinking about the time frame now, 2011, I remember Hollywood was going back to 3D for like the 18th time. In 2009, Avatar became the highest box office of all time, and people don't remember that. That's because 3D glasses went from $1 to $3 tacked onto your ticket. Yeah. And that is factored into Avatar's actual like box office. Like you paid more money to go see it. And Cameron was like mandating, like, it's a better experience this way. It's a better experience this way. So yeah, in the wake of that, they were trying to 3Dify way too many things and things that didn't need it. And yeah, there's only like one truly egregious bit at the end where that face comes up, you know, at the the whole ending. And I mean, Mad Max Fury Road, in my opinion, is the best action movie of the 21st century. And even that has that one scene where like the tires and steering wheel fly at the screen, you know. And it doesn't take you out of the movie, but it is a bit groany anytime they're chasing a gimmick, you know. I'll forgive it because Fury Road's awesome otherwise. But yeah, in this one, I noticed too at the end that the face coming up. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, this was 3Dified. I forgot all about that.
I did find the one scene where the Colin Farrell threw the bicycle or the motorbike through the back seat. It was actually the rest of the scene around that was really cool. They're doing some cool camera tricks, having it fully rotate all the way around inside.
It's some pretty wicked rigs for that shot.
Yeah, they had this really cool, but it just that whole scene of the bike coming through, because it's all the special effects, and then it goes like super bright and white, and then it goes back to what you're actually supposed to be seeing, and it is frustrating that way, but it takes away from a very cool scene.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I didn't catch that on my rewatch, and I was watching it, but the screen just was darker than it probably should have been for me. But I do love the immediacy of how, like, that's a jump scare straight up. Like, you think they got away, and then that thing comes hurling 100 feet across the street.
Yeah,
and comes in like a chainsaw, which is what you think it is for a millisecond there. But
I also
that's the other thing.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I like how mean-spirited Colin Farrell's version was in this one, like especially when they're like, what's he doing in the backyard? He's pulling up like their gas lines.
Yeah, I did like that too, like how he was kind of just a thug.
Well, yeah, he went from doing that whole like nice guy thing to like, okay, well, I tried talking to you, and then instantly goes to like, I'm gonna explode your house.
Yeah, there's a lot less Charlie convincing everyone around him that he's a vampire in this version. In fact, Ed's the one that's first convincing Charlie. And it's like, it's really not long before he's got his mom and girlfriend made well aware. And you're right, it kind of turns, the movie turns right there and becomes, Colin Farrell's like not fucking around anymore. Like he immediately turns into a full-on villain.
Yeah, it turns into like the guest, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's the scene where he's obviously that's one of my favorite vampire tropes in any movies, is watching vampires explode in daylight. Shout out John Carpenter's Vampires, where he's pulling him out with like a crossbow. I just love that effect. And it's always fun to see, even if this one it's just so glossy because of the 3D and the VFX and everything. But when Charlie rescues the woman from Colin Farrell's basement and takes her outside and she just bursts into flames, I
one of my favorite kills in this century of film, because I remember my theater gasping when that happened, because like you forget he's already poisoned her and she's going to be screwed over by the sun.
You get so caught up in her being rescued, like, yes.
Yeah, no, that's like, that might be my favorite scene of the remake.
Yeah, no, totally. And I don't know, the film, it just has this paranoid kind of erratic nature about it that was kind of like really relevant around that time. Like this movie did remind me a little bit of Disturbia as well, the Shia LaBeouf film. But it just because, you know, the obvious reasons, they're both kind of riffs on Rear Window in some ways. And I just think that Rear Window riff there's certain things that you'll just always be able to do something with them, always be able to do a creative twist on whatever story.
The first one was overtly, you know, he's literally looking out the window and watching the whole sex scene. Actually, we've said enough nice things about it, and I want to get a critique of it in, and it's exactly what you said earlier. This one is so much less sleazy, for lack of a better word, than the original.
It's very streamlined.
Lots of implied sex in this one, but like hardly any scene on screen. I'm not even sure now that there was like a naked boob in it, but like
no.
Also gone as any like bisexual or gay undertones with Jerry, with Ed, with Billy, who's not even a character in this, but like
missed opportunity.
I think it was a larger problem. Like, we're so sexless in modern mainstream entertainment that like we're Quakers again. But to the point where like Deep Water, which just came out with DeArmas and Affleck, just feels like this avant-garde thing in this climate to have like a steamy, you know, sex movie. But
we need to clone Verhoeven.
Yeah,
we need to make sure we keep him around. I still haven't seen Benedetta, but the fact that like that's a dude we need more sleazy,
Agreed.
like sleazy, really, you know, intimate, close-up, sweaty sex shots that we're missing in a lot of films these days.
Like I'm as big a fan as Marvel and Star Wars as the next nerd, and like my kids into them too.
Yeah.
But those are like the most chaste, least horny franchises on earth, and they're like the
are you one of
those on earth.
Are you one of those guys screaming online about why Marvel's not horny right now?
No, but I'm just saying, to the larger point of like, maybe this is Disney's fault overall, but like it is rather it's quaint. Everything in mainstream now is like so sexless, it feels like. And it was weird that this one didn't have that. Like obviously we're going for an R rating. They weren't going to not get an R rating, so why not lean into, you know, vampires being sexy? I'm not sure.
Totally. And they definitely still play with the whole puberty and growing into your sexuality, but it just doesn't work as well as the original, because
it kind of feels more like Sex Drive in this movie, but then to have like a genuine connection between them.
It's like a PG-13 Sex Drive or something, like something like it should be a sex movie, but they really nix that. And but it's okay, they can show exploding bodies and people on fire and everything, that's okay, but God forbid some kids learn about some sexuality.
Speaking of being on fire, that was a lot of fun, the way that he dispatched him at the end. I thought that was really cool. It was like I hadn't seen anything quite like it, where he literally like attaches himself to him.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
Yeah, I really did like that. You thought like the movie could have ended in Tenet's giant, you know, crazy office house, whatever that was. That whole menagerie. But then they still have the whole sequence where they go into his basement stuff, and I do enjoy how they dispatched a few of them.
Yeah, for sure. No, it could have been a lot. Could have been more the new batch, like Gremlins 2, and just went way over the top and a huge setting. But I like that they reverted back to the dingy basement. Cool. Yeah, and also this Peter Vincent listens to Kid Cudi, so he's depressed.
Did any of you happen to catch that they did a direct sequel to this one? There's a Fright Night Part 2 that's a direct to this one called New Blood, I believe.
There is.
Yeah, there is. I've never seen it.
I heard it's even worse than the original Fright Night 2. So yeah, I don't know. I just never got to those. I don't know what it is. There's certain properties that I like. This could be, which is funny because Tom Holland famously also made Psycho 2, which is like a movie that should have never had a sequel. And honestly, it's a pretty good sequel. Like I like that.
Right.
Movie.
I think, yours have been kind to it. People say it's very underrated nowadays.
It is. Yeah, it's good. But like with Fright Night, I don't know, there's just something about it I just didn't.
I think this is a good franchise that's always ripe for, you can not recycle, but you can refresh this every couple decades and have a great film. It's just the story itself is so built in interesting that there's lots of, even just looking at the difference between the two we're talking about, how much different things they did with the same basic story idea. I think it'd be fun to see one in the next couple of years again.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely becoming less and less jaded to the idea of remakes because, you know, so many of them have been great. But I also am, of course, in the camp that I just want to see some more original stuff. But
when do you think we're going to have another 3D renaissance again that we're going to have to live through?
Avatar 2.
Studios will not learn their lessons again.
Like, Avatar is like the harbinger of 3D.
Yeah, it's going to bring it back. Cool.
I don't remember. It got so bad that they were like post-converting stuff like the Thor sequel and the Clash of the Titans sequel. They were post-converting them into 3D just to try to get the extra money, and they look like shit.
Yeah, I think it was the Clash, because I was stupidly very stoked for Clash of the Titans when it was first announced. And oh my God, I remember that movie just being horrible, and the 3D being like, what are we like? This is just annoying. I'm getting a headache at this point. But yeah, do you guys have anything else you want to talk about in regards to Fright Night before we get on to our rapid fire questions?
Jeez, I forgot about that. No, I think we've said probably enough about them both. I was happy to revisit that one. And like I said, it's still got Marty Noxon, who came out of the Buffy and Angel world and went on to write episodes of Unreal. And I think she created the Amy Adams series Sharp Objects on HBO.
Yeah,
she was the screenwriter for this update. And the guy that directed it went on to I, Tonya and recently Cruella. So it's slick. It's, you know, it's got its flaws, but I do think now watching them both in recent memory, I can't say that I like the sequel more, despite its third act being really cool.
Yeah. No, I just they're both fun. I'll obviously always choose the original over the remake, but I've seen far worse remakes. I'm with you, Sean, that this would probably crack a top 10 remakes for me. Just simply because they did what they did, the moments that they want to pull from the original, they did them fairly well, and they switched it up a little bit. So yeah, it gets a pass for me. What about you, Buzi? Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say they reframed the Welcome to Fright Night for Real, which Chris Sarandon like draws out in the funniest way possible in the original. But Colin Farrell's hits harder because he's like reminding David Tennant that I killed your parents. So sorry, go ahead, Buzi.
No, I was just going to say I really appreciated having a chance to watch both of these back to back to see the big difference and actually to finally see the 2011. And you can definitely see that the 2011, obviously, like I mentioned, is the more streamlined, less kind of, the story kind of doesn't get fed to you as well. It's very fast paced and glossy, and it's fine for what it is. I said I like the ending, and I think just the gem of this whole thing is getting to watch the original again and seeing all the creative effects they had and just the story that I was going with. I really enjoyed it, so it was enjoyable, and I definitely want to check out 2 now that they're vampire hunters. That's exciting.
I feel like, Buzi, you're the perfect market for that because you tend to like widely universally hated movies.
Sequels, especially
sequels. Yeah, so I think you're the demographic that
I don't try to do it. They're
I know.
Fun.
Yeah, it's your brain, man. We don't ever change who you are.
What's a widely hated sequel that you love?
Blue Crush 2.
Strangers Pray at Night.
Strangers. Yeah, you love Strangers. You convince. Actually, now it's funny. I'm pretty sure I like Covenant more than you do. The new Alien. And when I came out of that theater, I was so pissed, and you were like, it was really good. And you liked Fallen Kingdom when it first came out, and then turned sour on it.
Yeah, now I hate it.
I'm drawing a blank. I remember there's been a couple. Oh yeah, fucking Nightmare on Elm Street 5. The Dream Child.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Buzi loves The Dream Child.
That is a take.
Sean's just like, noted. I don't want to talk to this guy anymore.
Yeah. Awesome.
No, I have a soft spot for all of them just because I was young when I saw them all. But
yeah,
and that's my favorite horror franchise.
Yeah. All right. We'll take that one off. No, we made sure. I'm pretty sure none of these questions are ones that would show up on Paper Street. And if there's anything that you want cut, just let me know.
All right, will do. Maybe just dead space when I blink out. But no, I'll do my best here.
Okay, Buzi, do you want me to lead this off?
Yeah, sure.
You do you still have your questions?
Yes. I just gotta pull up my list here. Give me a sec.
Okay, I'll go first. We'll start off easy. So we're gonna do a tribute to Paper Street Pictures podcast, or the Paper Street podcast. You guys tend to do a lightning round, rapid fire round that you actually spend more time on, which I like. I like when your guests are able to explain their reasonings for their answers, and you can choose to do the same thing with this one if you want, but a few of these you might just know right away. Like, who is your favorite Spice Girl and why?
Oh, favorite one. I actually think I like Scary Spice.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good choice. I feel like all the people whose favorite was Baby Spice, they're all in jail now. If you could, would you rather take Betty or Veronica to the prom? And why?
I prefer brunettes with some spitfire to them, so I'm a Veronica guy for sure.
You learn a lot about a person from this question. I'm the same way. I like the brunettes that'll just destroy your life and self-esteem. So Veronica for myself as well. Buzi, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah. Wait. Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, can Buzi answer all these?
Why do I have to answer?
Oh yeah,
I have a good question though.
Yeah,
you guys might have a heart out. I don't know if he's got the time.
Okay. Which host was funnier on Price is Right? Richard Karn or Steve Harvey?
Which was funnier? Ugh. I'm not a Steve Harvey fan by any means, but I would imagine he's funnier overall than Richard Karn, who just seemed like a drip to me.
You didn't like Home Improvement?
I did not. You know how like way late in life, Mitch was still jealous and insecure? When I was a little I hated Jonathan Taylor Thomas and all three of those kids. So no, I didn't like that show.
Yeah, fuck them kids.
Never really liked Tim Allen. Yeah, that show was not for me. I just didn't really care.
This just reminded me of the most backwards, those backwards compliments, or like a
backhanded compliment.
Yeah, like someone said to me recently upon meeting me that I look like, this was the first thing that this man said to me. He said, "You look like if a supermodel fucked Al Borland and had a kid."
That's backhanded.
And did you say, do you mean Wes Borland?
No, I wish. Yeah, that was the first question. All right. Yeah, sorry, Buzi, you continue on.
Who's Al Borland? I can't picture put a name.
Richard Karn. He's Richard Karn from Home Improvement.
Oh, sorry, that was the character's name. Yeah, that is very backhanded and only slightly complimentary.
I was like, what? Because I'm a slightly heavier guy who fucking where was I going with that? Oh yeah, I always wear plaid. So white guy who wears plaid.
So you're literally everyone at Home Depot.
I was gonna say, aren't you issued plaid being a Canadian?
Yeah, exactly. I guess
one of my 8 stereotypes I have about you guys.
Yeah, isn't it crazy that we get this good a reception from our igloos?
No, I love Canadians.
What are you talking about? I'm at a nice beach right now.
Yeah, make good comedians, some good music, a lot of good comedians.
Yeah, Tom Green, shout out. Keep going with your questions.
Sean, would you rather fight a bear or a shark? So the bear you have to fight in the woods, the shark you have to fight in the ocean.
Shark, because if he chomps your arm, you still can start fighting him off. A bear comes at you with all 4 things and a mouth, so a bear will fuck you up, and you will not against a bear. There's a chance you can want to fight against a shark.
Okay, yeah, that's actually a fair answer. Who makes the worst pizza, and why is it Little Caesars?
Oh, it's Papa John's. Their sauce is gross.
Oh, yeah, Papa John's.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we worked with a Canadian director down here a few years ago on a short when we were all still in Austin, and he thought Papa John's was like this high-end pizza. And we found out later that he's a cuckoo right-wing guy, Papa John, that is. And it turns out the reason pizza's expensive and considered like very fancy there is because he doesn't like to pay workers' health insurance and benefits and stuff, and that's probably why his pizza is expensive in Canada. It's shit $10 pizza here alongside Little Caesars and Domino's and all the other ones, so it's not special. It's really gross.
Don't you put Domino's in that camp?
Oh, I like Domino's. I actually do like of all the chains. That's my favorite one. But
no, Papa John's
is worse
shit.
than Little Caesars.
Yeah, I guess we just had more Little Caesars where we came from, but
I always feel like that one's like the worst one you could. It's like, what's the worst sub you can have? And it's from Subway.
It's pretty close.
Shut up.
Little Caesars is at the bottom. I'm not disagreeing, but something about Papa John's sauce makes it even weirder and worse.
Subway's at the top, so don't slander keep that name at your mouth. Happy Gilmore even said so. Buzz, you want to keep going?
Subway in like 10 years.
All right, I got more here. What's the worst band you've ever seen live?
Oh man. Rest in peace, Taylor Hawkins. It is not the Foo Fighters, but the best and worst concert I've seen in my life are both Weezer. And I saw Weezer in a perfect, incredible show here at Whiskey A Go-Go in LA. It was one of those perfect scenarios where like first 500 people to come get tickets get to see this tiny little show, and it was amazing. But then they also opened for Foo Fighters on a big arena tour, and they were just like the blandest performers. And I think it was right about the time the whole world was giving up on Weezer because we all grew up faster than Rivers Cuomo did.
Yeah.
I don't know. Worse. I'm trying to think. Like, I'm sure there's like a one of those like amphitheater type shows or like major bills where somebody was not great, but nothing.
There's always that one band that you expect to be good, and then they're just bad the whole way through. That was the first that came to mind. That was how Weezer just kind of did their thing, and then Foo Fighters came out and did an actual rock show.
Yeah, damn, yeah, big rest in peace. That was a tough one too. But Shawn, when was the last time you shit your pants?
Oh God. How did he know to ask this question? I wish my wife was here to chime in, and she'd be like, I know at least 3 incidences when he's been a grown man and done that. I don't know the most recent time, but I can tell you there's a famous time that a few friends of mine were privy to when we were at Full Sail. There used to be this burrito joint called Tijuana Flats in Florida. It's still there. And we were young and had metabolism, and went across the street and ate there while we were building the set for something we were doing. And me and another guy ate 2 of their Megawana burritos, and that was a bad idea. Both of us ran to our respective apartments shortly thereafter, and both came back with the same story of we did not make it.
Oh,
so I'll share that story for you. I'm running up the stairs. I'm trying to like skip stairs to run. By the time I got to my front door, it had happened. So
amazing.
There are other stories. I mean, we could do a separate podcast of like, let's all tell shit our pants stories. They're terrible.
Yeah. The reason I thought of that is because I shit myself this week and I work from home.
Oh,
like, so you got to imagine.
Wow.
Yeah. It takes a major skill to do that.
You're near a toilet when you're in your home and you still didn't get there.
Yep. Sometimes it's still deceiving.
If you're wearing pants, you're a portable toilet.
Yep. It's like President Obama always said, never trust a fart. Boozy, you got more?
Where did you lose your virginity?
In a house in Brandon, Florida, in the front living room of my girlfriend at the time in high school. But we were each other's first. And
how romantic in the living room.
Yeah. Well, let's go with some wholesome ones. So a question that you frequently ask on the Paper Street podcast is, what's the movie you've seen the most?
For sure, mine would be somewhere between Batman 89, Ninja Turtles 90, and Monty Python the Holy Grail.
Damn.
Probably Princess Bride too. If you threw those 4 in a blender, you probably get 20 times each on those for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, yeah, I don't know. I think we actually
I have one more question. Who's your favorite wrestler?
All time.
Yeah.
From Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Bret the Hitman Hart.
Absolutely.
Best there is, best there was, best there ever will be.
Absolutely. Fuck Shawn Michaels. Bret all day, every day.
Yeah. Love it.
No, Bret, and you're not allowed to talk about him now because we're racing from history. But as a kid, Bret and Benoit were the 2 that I was watching going, wow, everything they do looks like it hurts, and everything that's done to them looks like it hurts them. And Bret to this day is just like, he got good matches out of people like Diesel. I mean, come on, he's
100%.
He's like the only guy to get good matches out of certain guys. But he's my all-time. Until his family showed up at our insurrection here in DC, I would say Jericho was a top 10 of mine. I've always
he's
reinvented himself.
Big time into that.
Yeah, she sucks. And but he's always been a good character. He's trying to think of some other guys. I was into WCW back during that Monday Night War and a lot of the cruiserweights and stuff like that. I like Malenko, and growing up in Tampa, I mean, it's
I love that you gave a shout out to Malenko.
Yeah, right.
Like, nobody ever talks about Malenko.
Malenko was awesome. I like the boring technicians apparently.
That's fair.
But growing up in Tampa, I mean, they all live there, and like everybody's met Hogan or has a Hogan story or stuff like that. So I went to school with Jessica Heenan, who was Bobby the Brain's daughter.
No way.
So I had like weird wrestling connections all through my life, but I've been a lifelong fan. Although WWE did everything they could to like make me quit the last 2 years on them, and I have. And right when I thought I was out,
guy?
yeah, that's what happened. AEW starts up and then shit, I'm like back in it.
Okay,
And it doesn't hurt that
be like, I'm really into control your narrative.
No, fucking A. See, I thought you guys like lean more conservative, but it doesn't sound like it. Listen to some of the episodes.
Absolutely not.
It's funny that I think Austin Aries is like the biggest piece of shit on earth.
I'm sorry. This is completely not like.
Wait, did this just become a wrestling podcast? Sorry.
Yeah.
Mitch is like, stop it.
It tends to go this route quite a few times. So
no, I was just gonna say Austin Aries is a piece of shit. I used to think he was so cool, but yeah, he's a piece of shit.
We had Dustin Rhodes in our movie, which was by design. We were looking for a very large guy to play a serial killer, and I said, why don't we look at some wrestlers? And we had a few names, and Dustin being based out of Austin, Texas, it worked out perfectly that he showed up to be the Devil's Lake Impaler and Scare Package.
Damn. Yeah.
How was that to work with him?
No, he's great. He's like, veteran, respectful guy. He's everything you imagine he'd be, being the son of a plumber.
Yes. Shout out plumbers.
Shout out Dusty.
Yeah, awesome. Well, this was a lot of fun, Shawn. I can't thank you enough for contributing to the Kickstarter and helping us get our film made, and just coming on and talking. This has been such a pleasure. Like I said, a big fan of what you do and what you have going on, and I really hope people check out anyone who hasn't listened to the Paper Street podcast. Definitely check that out. Another shout out for another episode was you had Bears or Rebecca Fonte on to discuss like film festivals and what goes into them, and that's like something that's likely very, very interesting for a lot of more people than just myself. So thank you for all of your stellar work. Thank you for joining us on the Terror Table. And
what's your socials? Where can people find you?
So speaking of the podcast, at Paper Street Podcast on Instagram, but also just paperstreetpodcast.com. We'll have our whole episodes, and they have show notes there. Paper Street Pictures is on all of them. It's Paper ST Pictures, I think, on Twitter, at Paper Street Pictures on Instagram. Myself, Shawn, SHAWN, Talley, TALLEY on Twitter. Shawn M. Talley, M as in Mitch and I are going to fuck later because we have the same loves of movies. No, Shawn M. Talley on Instagram if you want to follow me on any of those.
Absolutely. Perfect. And that's where you'll be able to know it's him by the amazing Kyle MacLachlan Twin Peaks picture in the image. Agent Coop. Yeah. Shout out Twin Peaks. Awesome. All right. Well, let's wrap up for today. And yeah, I guess next time you'll hear from us, we're going to be discussing 3 crocodile movies from 2007. We're going to be talking about Rogue, Primeval, and Croc. Yeah. I still haven't seen that one. So I'm curious about Primeval because I remember I was so excited about when it was coming out, and I remember hating it. But
I have my VHS somewhere. I'll watch the bonus features.
Jeez. Okay, well, looking forward to that. Thanks again for joining us, Shawn. And
certainly, guys, this has been a blast. And Mitch, good luck with Druid's Hand. Of course, I was happy to donate. You've been a good supporter of us from the get-go, from talking to Aaron in person on down to his other appearance to like just in Paper Street in general. So it's much appreciated. Buzi, great to talk with you and meet you as well, and put faces to names here.
Yeah, no kidding. Awesome. All right, well, thanks so much for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time on the Terror Table.